Hello, I'm Henry Keane. This is News Pulse at UATV. I know you've been waiting. Welcome to the show. Today in the episode, Ukrainian intelligence successfully hunt down and hit 2 Russian military vessels in Kerch Strait. Trump refused Ukraine's help with drone interceptors, while Kyiv hotels are just overbooked, with representatives from Middle East eager to buy Ukrainian technologies. The Russian spring offensive in Ukraine has already failed, states President Zelenskyy. Look deeper in our story. Russia's Krasnodar region came under massive drone attack this time. Main target was the oil depot. The attack was massive enough even for Russians to acknowledge regional authorities to confirm the incident. The Krasnodar region is a strategic hub for the Russian army. Oil depots in this region act as refueling stations for Russian troops fighting in southern Ukraine. Therefore, disabling facilities in Labinsk to Apse or Novorossiysk significantly complicates refueling enemy's military equipment and aviation, creating a fuel shortage directly on the front line. Early this morning, a drone attack also targeted Aviastar plant in the Russian city of Ulyanovsk. This is Russia's largest aircraft manufacturing plant and a key subsidiary, by the way, of the United Aircraft Corporation, which operates under the state-owned Rostec. The enterprise specializes in the production of Il-76 military transport aircraft and in-air re-tank aircrafts. It also provides critical maintenance for the AN-124 Ruslan heavy strategic transporters. Ukrainian intelligence disabled 2 more Russian military vessels during the night of March 13 in Kerch Strait and provided photo evidence of the attack. The rail ferry Slavyanin is out of operation by now, and also the vessel Avantgarde sustained significant damage. Both ships were involved in military logistics, supplying weapons, ammunition, and military equipment to the Russian army. Today, during rush hour, in the morning, Russia launched yet another terror attack at Kyiv city and the region with drones and ballistic missiles. One of the UAV's debris fell right in the heart of Kyiv, near the Independence Monument, which is located in the iconic Independence Square in the very downtown of the city, a historical and even sacred site in some sense, as all Ukrainian revolutions started there. Ukraine's Air Force reports to down as much as 194 enemy drones, with the main directions of the Russian strikes also to be Odessa and Zaporizhia regions. Not only drones and missiles, but also an obscene language uses Kremlin in its every attempt to disrupt negotiation process. Moscow has flatly rejected proposals from Emmanuel Macron's advisors, who are seeking a seat for Europe, obviously, at the negotiating table regarding Ukraine. According to Financial Times, during a meeting in February with French presidential advisors, Putin's aide Yuri Ushakov told them to go and love themselves, to put it mildly. Donald Trump declined to comment on whether the United States had accepted help from Ukraine in the drone attack. NBC News reports on that. Trump also said Zelenskyy is the last person the United States needs help from. Well, that's okay, Mr. President. We wait for our turn when the last person will offer you a last hope.
What Middle East countries and American bases, what they need now, just to be in more strong security. So they need interceptors. It's drone interceptors. These new technologies. I want to underline that Middle East partners had more missiles for Patriot than we've got from the United States and Europeans during all the war. They used more missiles. They used more than 800 Patriot missiles during first attack, during first 24, 36 hours. So more than we had during all the months. But when we speak how to close the sky, we gave what we had and what our American friends, they don't have, or European friends, they don't have, such a big system of these experts.
You know, there's such a thing as BMI. It stands for Big Mac Index. The Big Mac Index is a price index, first introduced by The Economist in 1986, that tracks the price of McDonald's Big Mac cheeseburger in each country, thereby offering a quick and easily digestible country-to-country comparison of purchasing power. Purchasing power parity, PPP, and currency values all over the world. And maybe today it's about time to invent KHI, Kiev Hotel Index, as today literally all hotels in Kiev are overbooked by officials from Persian Gulf countries anxious to buy Ukrainian technologies. But whatever Ukraine is going to do with these bunch of offers from Saudi Arabia and other countries, please remember, Mr. Donald Trump, we offer our help to the United States. We offered it a long time ago.
A little less than a year ago, Ukraine proposed a massive drone deal to the United States worth up to $50 billion, which would involve the export of Ukrainian technology and the joint production of drones. But there has been no decision from the United States yet. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, president of Ukraine.
And this one of those things that everybody knows, but still everyone seems to be quite shocked when it sounds aloud. Russia and China are helping Iran in its war against the United States. And it is not anything new at all. It has always been the case before, and it is happening now.
In the past, we had close cooperation that still continues, and that also includes military cooperation. Iran has had good cooperation with these countries, politically, economically, even militarily. Abbas Araghchi, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran.
So far, the Trump's war in Iran has been successful to swap the old Ayatollah Khamenei regime with the younger one. Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of recently eliminated dictator Khamenei, was injured during a bombardment. But dictators around the world are glad to be of help. On Thursday, Mojtaba Khamenei was transported by a Russian military plane to Moscow, and the new Ayatollah was placed in a hospital right at the private residence of the Russian dictator. Putin offered to receive the Ayatollah, and immediately after arrival, Khamenei underwent surgery. Israel this week informed the United States that the country is facing a critical shortage of ballistic missile interceptors amidst the ongoing war with Iran. According to sources, Israel entered the current war with a number of interceptors and missiles that is not enough. Now, the Israeli missile defense systems is experiencing serious problems due to daily attacks by Iran. And moreover, CNN notes that Iran is adding cluster munitions to its missiles, which obviously exacerbates the depletion of reserves of Israelis' interceptors. The official added that while the United States does not experience any shortage of its own interceptors, it is, however, not clear whether the United States will sell or share any of its interceptors with Israel. Previously, missile defense systems were included in the provisions of Washington's military assistance to Israel, but the publication notes that Israel has other ways, of course, to protect against Iranian missiles during war, including fighter jets. However, interceptors are, of course, one of the most effective means of protection against long-range fire. On Saturday, Israeli Ynet media reported that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sent a request to Ukraine to hold talks with President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The request came against the backdrop of Ukraine's extensive experience in intercepting Iranian drones, that very experience that the Israelis and the Saudis need badly these days. And, of course, the United States of America needs it too. But maybe not Donald Trump. He says he can manage his war in Iran that is just doing fine. You know, these days it is really hard to say what will happen in an hour, yet alone in a day or a week or a month. But one thing is obvious and clear. Being an official leader in your country does not mean you are acting in its best interests. And the country sees that. And when the line is crossed, the country reacts. Hungary goes to the polls on 12th of April, and Peter Magyar's Tisza party leads Viktor Orban's Fidesz in most opinion polls. Fidesz, or better said, Orban, has governed Hungary with an absolute parliamentary majority since 2010 at a rally in central Budapest marking Hungary's National Day, which commemorates the 1848 uprising against Habsburg rule, a revolt that was ultimately crushed by the Russian Empire, by the way. Peter Magyar offered Hungarian nation some straightforward remarks.
Orban invited the most skilled Russian agents to our country to interfere in the elections and once again rob us of our most sacred possession, Hungarian freedom, for which our ancestors gave their lives. Viktor Orban is a traitor who betrayed our common future. He did not build a country, but his own dominion. He did not elevate the homeland, but made it the poorest and most corrupt country in the EU. Peter Magyar, president of opposition TISA party.
The Russian spring offensive has already failed, states President Zelenskyy in the interview with CNN. He reveals that Russia prepared a big operation which they wanted to launch at the end of last year and continue this spring, where Ukrainian forces have thwarted all Russian attempts to advance. More in the story for you.
Russia's spring offensive campaign has failed, stated President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Among the reasons for the failure are the successful operation of the defense forces in Kupiansk in 2025, as well as counter-offensive actions by the Ukrainian military in the south of the country. The aggressor country's army can no longer advance with heavy equipment, so it is using small groups of soldiers, summarized the Ukrainian leader.
The spring campaign, as planned, has collapsed for the Russians this spring. They failed to advance. They are undertaking offensive actions, but they are all the same. Attempts at infiltration. They cannot break through with equipment anywhere because we burn their equipment. So there is no large-scale operation on their part, although on different sections of the front they are still trying to act with infiltration tactics and constant assaults. Our warriors are destroying them. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, president of Ukraine, during a meeting with journalists.
In addition to ground operations, the armed forces of Ukraine are stopping Russia's advance and its plans for the spring-summer campaign through medium-range strikes on military targets in territories occupied by Russia. Under fire from Ukrainian military are logistics, military equipment, and concentrations of Russian soldiers. Analysts from the Institute for the Study of War emphasize that such strikes are usually carried out approximately 20 to 120 kilometers from the front line, but Ukrainian defenders have managed to strike deeper.
We see these strategic messages that they want to implement in terms of the spring offensive. But having a systematic defense model near Kostiantynivka, conducting counterstrikes in this sector with special operations forces, we not only prevent advancement but also inflict heavy losses on the enemy. Therefore, in this situation we do not see that the Russians will have any prospects in this sector and can advance, fulfill the tasks of capturing Donetsk region, which is now their more global goal.
Notably, Ukraine's defense forces do not stop striking inside Russia itself. Both military targets and enterprises that feed the aggressor country's military-industrial complex are being hit. Thus, over the past week, the Maikop airfield in the Republic of Adygia, the Afipsky oil refinery, and the Kavkaz port in Krasnodar Krai came under fire.
The Afipsky oil refinery, in the settlement of Afipsky, Krasnodar Krai, Russia, was hit. Its annual refining volume is 6.25 million tons, which is 2.1% of the total oil refining volume in Russia. A hit on the facility was recorded with a subsequent fire on the enterprise's territory. In addition, damage was inflicted on the infrastructure of the Kavkaz port in the Chushka area, Krasnodar Krai, Russia. Damage to the port's infrastructure was recorded. Both enterprises are involved in supporting the Russian army, from a publication by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Telegram.
There are also extremely sensitive strikes on the Russian Federation's military-industrial complex, for example, the Kremny L military-industrial enterprise. Previously, the plant produced integrated circuits for ballistic, cruise, and anti-aircraft missiles of various types. Now, after direct airstrikes by the armed forces of Ukraine, production at the enterprise has been halted for approximately 6 months.
By conducting this strategy of strikes on the territory of Russia, Ukraine's defense forces select key enterprises that break the entire chain, in this case missiles. And we are not talking only about Iskanders. There is a full range of missiles that are very difficult to intercept with air defense, such as Topol-M, for example. And other systems can be named, including Yars, with which Russia threatens the entire democratic world.
Since the beginning of 2026, Ukraine's defense forces have already struck 4 major enterprises of the Russian Federation's military-industrial complex, as well as one of the key missile test ranges and 2 large arsenals on the territory of Russia, reports Ukraine's Ministry of Defense. Such strikes are needed to stop the Russian military-industrial complex and reduce the Federation's capabilities for producing and storing weapons. After all, as President Volodymyr Zelenskyy reminds, Putin still does not strive for peace and continues to prolong the war. Reported by Nikita Skoblikov, UATV News.
Well, it seems to be it for today. My name is Henry Keane. Thank you so very much for your time with us. Please leave a comment and a like and maybe a subscription to our channel so as to stay tuned to what tomorrow holds. UATV will be there to present it to you in Ukrainian perspective. Stay safe and tune for more at UATV. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.